Hi, I'm Jefferson Drexler, and this is Parent Like You Mean It, the podcast where we talk about parenting with purpose and intentionality today so that our kids will live with purpose and intentionality tomorrow. Now, before I begin, I want to point you to ChristianPodcastCentral.com. There you're going to find more of my videos, plus a complete library of videos, podcasts, and blogs that will make you laugh, that'll make you think, and hopefully it'll make the world a better place. Again, that's ChristianPodcastCentral.com. Now, kids have no sense of time. I remember when my oldest was a preschooler, he couldn't verbalize the difference between something that took place yesterday, last week, or years ago. It was always, Daddy, remember yesterday when I was 2? And he was 4 at the time. And I blame myself for this. Between the mixed messages that my wife and I gave him regarding what 5 minutes is, well, I'm just hopeful that he gets to his first college class on time next week. And here's what I mean. And I know you've done this too. We'd be at the playground and I'd yell out, "Hey buddy, 5 more minutes, okay?" And within 90 seconds, I'd be ready to go. He'd be transitioning from the swings to the slide, so I'd seize the moment. "All right, bud, it's been 5. Let's jump in the car." Then the next day, my wife would tell him, "It's almost lunchtime. Come inside for sandwiches in 5 minutes." She'd then get a phone call, and meanwhile, he's having a blast playing outside. 20 minutes later, she's walking outside with a sandwich in hand, to which he would ask, "Has it been 5 minutes?" "Sure," she'd reply. 5 minutes wasn't even a rough estimate in time at all. In fact, it really just meant sometime in the near future, completely and arbitrarily determined by us. As my son got older, we realized how this could backfire on us. Be home by 11 o'clock meant, in our minds, that at 10:59, his car should already be in the driveway, his key should be opening the front door. But in his mind, because of our mistakes way back yesterday when he was 2, at 11:27, 28, he'd come in thinking he was on time. After all, dinner ran late, the movie was longer than he expected, he had to drive an extra friend home, then he had to get gas, and you wouldn't believe who he ran into at the gas station, and yada yada. I didn't care. The only thought that I had on my mind was that I should have been able to go to sleep 27 minutes ago with everyone safe under one roof. But we'll deal with letting go of our teens in another episode. My point is that when it comes to time, over time, some of my words had lost their meaning. How could I fail so badly with my own kid? Well, maybe fail is too strong of a word. After all, words matter, right? Let me set the record straight here. My son is heading off to college. He's an amazing young man, and I love him 3,000. But, there's always a big but, right? But still, I'm realizing, as I look back on his swing set, slides, and monkey bar days, how important our words are. It's critical that we verbally plant the seeds throughout our children's lives, so that when, not if, but when, they find themselves in need of help in a moment worth celebrating, or just in the midst of a free 5 minutes, they have the freedom to talk. Words matter. Which brings me to something that really gets my blood boiling. All around us, the powers that be keep changing what words mean, sometimes to the point where they mean nothing at all. And the effects of this willy-nilly redefinition of terms has much greater impacts on our lives than just losing 27 minutes of sleep on a Friday night. Dudes are competing in women's sporting events. Death tolls are equivalent to sniffle tolls. Lies and falsehoods are misinformation or disinformation, depending on whatever the informationists decide. Moms are now birthing people. Comedians are problematic. Subjective opinions are living one's truth. Riots are mostly peaceful protests. Protesters are insurgents. Racism is systematic, so judging people by their character instead of the color of their skin is now racist. Men can menstruate now for the first time in human history. Babies aren't babies until they're either born or wanted. And if you decide to have them killed before they're either born or wanted, you should celebrate by shouting your abortion. I honestly can't even believe that I just said all of that. If we were using a standardized dictionary with definitions tied to objective truth, all of that word salad that I just said it should be utter nonsense. Instead, it's 21st century vernacular. But this isn't anything new. This is the same message that was written over 2,700 years ago when the prophet Isaiah took a look at the world around him. And he declared, "Look at all these people. Woe to those who say good is bad and evil is good. They think that light is dark and dark is light. They think that sweet is sour and sour is sweet. Woe to those who think that they're so smart, who are wise in their own eyes, clever in their own sight. They think they're so intelligent. They've rejected and spurned the word of God. Therefore, the Lord's anger burns against them, and there's only darkness closing in as the light fades away in a black cloud." It's from the Bible, Isaiah chapter 5. Now, am I saying that anyone who tells their kid that they'll be leaving the playground in 5 minutes but actually leaves in 15 is doomed for death and destruction? No. I am saying that words matter. It matters as we raise our children with an understanding of what is right and what is wrong, what is healthy for them and what is destructive, what differentiates between decent people and indecent people, and what is good and admirable versus what is profane and should be avoided. Here's an example. I was just listening to a college orientation video that my son was watching regarding the dangers of alcohol abuse. One quote that jumped out at me, and I couldn't believe it. I stopped dead in my tracks. It was this girl. She said, quote, "So be sure to eat some breads or proteins before you drink so that you don't get drunk so fast." Drunk so fast. How about, since you're not even 21 yet, it's actually illegal to drink alcohol, but even under the assumption that you will decide to break those laws and partake anyway, drink responsibly, pace yourself, and don't get drunk. The art of drinking alcohol isn't to get loaded, but to drink well. There's a huge difference between understanding that college students do college students things and releasing the Kraken and just saying, try not to get drunk so fast. Or for those of you with younger kids, those of us, I should say, because I still got younger kids myself. We've taught our sons, through both our life lessons and our own behaviors, which words are proper and which ones are not. The words stupid or fart, they're okay in our house. But swearing and profane insults, they're not. So when my 9-year-old started working out with his new water polo team and another kid dropped an F-bomb right there in the pool, my son knew right away that this was inappropriate. He even knew that it just might be a reflection on this kid's personality and the level of respect that he'll show to his coaches and his teammates. Because even at the age of 9, my son knows that words matter. Now, I understand that language evolves over time. When someone trolls me, I don't expect to be pelted with little crazy-haired gnome dolls. Or when I hope that some of my lessons may go viral someday, I don't want anything that I do or say infect you and your family and send you all to the ICU. Which brings us to the current event portion of our show, ladies and gentlemen. Once upon a time, those of us in America here, we as a general populace, agreed to shut down nearly everything in life for 2 weeks to flatten the curve. Well, that was over a year and a half ago. The curve has been flattened based on our stated goals at the time. America's ICUs are no longer overwhelmed, and we have vaccinations available to every adult in the nation. Yet still, the words flatten the curve have changed definition from lowering the amount of hospitalization and deaths to the point where hospitals are no longer or won't be overwhelmed to now mean eliminate any transmission of the COVID-19 virus and all of its variants, whether they be symptomatic or not harmful whatsoever. Statewide and regional powers that be are threatening local school leaders with cutting their funding or removing their school charters and ultimately jail time if they dare practice their independence in consideration of the individuals and the families that they care for and educate. An educational environment that once flourished under the banner of school choice is now shackled with do as I say or else in order to flatten the curve. Like I said, words matter. If our public grammar and middle schools truly do exist to educate and develop our youth into strong young men and women of wisdom and intellect, skill and character, why are the current policies masked behind the veil of we're all in this together and we need to protect the children? when the children aren't in any more danger than from the flu, pneumonia, or chickenpox. And if we're worried about their teachers and school staff getting infected by our kids' snot bubbles, well, they have every opportunity to be vaccinated and or inoculated and to take care of themselves. Look, I have asthma, all right? 3 of my sons have also battled asthma, but we've never burdened other people with the responsibility of keeping us breathing freely. My wife and one of my sons, they battle migraines, yet we don't ban flashlights, desk lights, or the sun from existence on the off chance that they may be adversely affected by bright light. We've gotten to the point where the severe danger of mass death and hospitals being overwhelmed is no longer at our doorstep, and we need to live accordingly, beginning with teaching our children what the word liberty is. In the 5th and the 14th Amendments, our Constitution defines liberty as freedom from arbitrary and unreasonable restraint upon an individual. So who decides what is arbitrary and unreasonable? Well, that can be debated and agreed upon. By definition, though, by our very nature and as U.S. citizens, we are set free from unlegislated, authoritative controls on our lives. And since words do matter, by definition, we ought to be liberated, free, to operate our local businesses, schools, churches, and communities without fear, without mandates, and without lockdowns. As Senator Ted Cruz put it, they do not respect your liberty. They do not respect your right to make your choices about your health care, about your children, about your lives. And to quote his colleague, Senator Rand Paul, we need to stand up and say absolutely not. Not this time. I choose freedom. And those are words that matter. Well, my 5 minutes are up. So thanks for watching. Again, I'm Jefferson Drexler, and this is Parent Like You Mean It.